mother and I fought with each other every day that we lived together, and in every battle, my mother was the winner. She never failed to convince me what a burden I was, and my guilt was so immense I didn't think I'd survive. It never occurred to me that my mother noticed my pain or my unhappiness, but now that I'm older, I realize she did indeed recognize my misery, and she answered it with the gifts that she gave me. I love music. In its wordless melodies, I find solace for tears, always ready to spill from my eyes. I will never forget the Christmas I came downstairs, and there at the fireplace was a phonograph that I could take up to my room and play all the records I bought with every penny of my allowance. There, I could be the paper doll somebody loved and lost. I could be the Juliet Romeo died for. My mother knew that every little girl needs the chance to escape into a beautiful melody. She knew. That year, I made her a little bear in home economics. I edged it with tiny little stitches. I gave it 2 brown eyes and the smile I never dared to give my mama. I wrapped it in the prettiest tissue paper I could find, and I put it in a little gold box, and I tied it with a ribbon, and I handed it to her, and she tossed it into the trash with all the torn wrappings, and I was devastated. Even the joy of having my own source of music was soured by the way she had treated a gift I had worked so hard to make for her. The next several years were hard for us both. I hated coming home, and I hated being me because she convinced me that I was useless. I screamed at her as shrilly as she screamed at me when she made me come home early from a party or said I didn't deserve a new dress. She was my enemy, and I told her so when she said she wouldn't come to my piano recital. By my 16th year, I was pretty sure I wasn't going to get any gifts for Christmas, but I had made her a gift in spite of myself. I couldn't believe that deep down she didn't have some feeling for me, and I now know that there was a love for her buried even deeper, protected by the armor I needed to survive her attacks. That year, I made her a black pincushion edged in lace. I hadn't worked as hard on it as I did on the little bear. Why should I? She wouldn't like it anyway. I handed it to her at Christmas, and she pointed to the gift that she had gotten me, and I was heartbroken. Those gifts were the only things I had to look forward to during those bleak years. I was 16 years old, and my mother had gotten me a life-size doll. I was too old for so juvenile a gift. Dragged the doll upstairs, I threw her on the bed, and then I looked at her. And she was so real, it was almost as if she could speak. And it was then I understood why my mother had given me so childish a gift. I had no friends. She would never let me bring anyone home after school, and she would never let me go to anyone's house. She and I never had a conversation. We only fought. My father ignored me, and my sister took great pleasure in baiting me against my mother. I had no one to tell of my dream of being a great writer, my desperate need to be an important person. My mother sensed that need, and she gave me a doll to talk to. I named her Penny, and every day after school, I ran home and ran up to my room, and I told that doll my successes, my failures, and my hopes, and my dreams. And I fully believe that the release I felt from confiding in my silent little friend kept me from turning to alcohol or drugs during those terrible teenage years. My mother and I finally came to tolerate one another, and I accepted that there was no bond between me and the woman who bore me. When I moved to the West Coast, I was pretty sure it was no loss for her, and that move to California began my life. When my mother died, my sister sent me a box of the mementos my mother had kept of the part I played in her life. As I sorted through the snapshots and the cards I had sent to Daddy, I paused. There, wrapped in tissue paper so it wouldn't soil, was the little bear I had made her so long ago. the symbol of a love I wanted so badly to feel. And right under it, wrapped in tissue paper, was the black pincushion I had made that terrible 16th year. My mother seemed hard as steel to me, but she was very human after all, and no one gave her a source of music she loved even more than I. No one gave her a doll to tell troubles she kept buried even deeper than my own. I will never forget the joy that I got from that phonograph and that doll. I took them with me wherever I went, and wherever I went, they comforted me. I never dreamed my mother treasured my gifts as I treasured hers. I like to think now they were her comfort.